I'm Ryan Palmer, Block 3. I'm Colin Kump, Block 1.
And I'm Matt Mazzara, Block 8.
And this is our Mandate of Heaven video.
The Mandate of Heaven, the Chinese philosophy concept of the circumstances under which a ruler is allowed to rule. Good rulers were allowed to rule under the Mandate of Heaven, while despotic, unjust rulers had the mandate revoked. Under the Zhou dynasty, China moved away from the worship of Shangdi. Shangdi is on your screen, in favor of the worship of Time, and they created the Mandate of Heaven. Zhou is now on your screen. According to this idea, there could be only one legitimate ruler of China at the time. This ruler resigned as the Son of Heaven, with approval of the gods. If a king ruled unfairly, he could lose this approval, which would result in his downfall. How is the Mandate of Heaven used? I'm going to be going through a flowchart. First, an old dynasty is seen as having lost Mandate of Heaven. A rebellion is justified. Second, a dynasty is overthrown through rebellion and bloodshed, then a new dynasty emerges. Third, new dynasty gains power, restores peace and order, and claims to have Mandate of Heaven. Fourth, a strong dynasty establishes peace and prosperity. It is considered to have Mandate of Heaven. Fifth, in time, dynasty declines and becomes corrupt. Taxes raised, power grows weaker. 6. Disasters such as floods, famine, peasant revolts, and invasions occur. Then the cycle keeps going over and over. That's how the dynasty cycle in China works. The Mandate of Heaven could be justified by rebellion, bloodshed, natural disasters, floods, famines, peasant revolts, and invasions. And this is how the rebellion could be justified.
Who were the first to use the Mandate of Heaven? After the Battle of the Muye, the Zhou dynasty took over. After that, the Mandate of Heaven was created to support the actions of the kings of the Zhou dynasty. After the Zhou dynasty was taken over by the Qin dynasty, this mandate continued to rule. What groups of people were the first to apply the Mandate of Heaven? First off, the Heaven's Mandate was used to justify the overthrow of the Shang dynasty. Then, the mandate was also used to justify the ruler's actions. After the Zhou dynasty was taken over by the Qin dynasty, the Mandate of Heaven was still used to justify the actions of Qin. What historical events or features led up to the creation of the Mandate of Heaven? In 1046 BCE, the Shang dynasty was overthrown by people living in the western part of the kingdom. This led to the beginning of the Zhou dynasty. When the Zhou created the Mandate of Heaven, which is the idea that there can only be one single ruler of China. Good rulers were allowed to rule under the mandate, while unjust rulers had the mandate revoked. The Shang dynasty was overthrown by the Zhou at the Battle of Muye. This was a battle fought by the Shang and Zhou clans about the expansion of the Shang dynasty. When the Zhou dynasty took over, the Mandate of Heaven was created, and it lived to rule on for multiple dynasties.
How does the mandate illuminate or explain ancient Chinese society? The Mandate of Heaven influenced the dynasties of China. When a dynasty was in control of China, they had the Mandate of Heaven. The Mandate of Heaven is a Confucian idea that says that the emperor is instated by heaven. Dynasties could lose the Mandate of Heaven if the emperor was not popular with the people, and could be overthrown and replaced with a new dynasty and emperor who had the Mandate of Heaven. Rivaling dynasties used the Mandate of Heaven as a way to justify the political unrest that the rivalries brought. The Qin dynasty used this as a way to justify their conquering of all the other states when they took over what is now known as China. Under the initial period of the Zhou dynasty, called the Western Zhou period, a number of innovations were made. Rulers were legitimized under the Mandate of Heaven, a feudal system developed, and new forms of irrigation allowed the population to expand. Are there other examples of similar principles? the closest to the mandate of heaven would be the Egyptian pharaohs, but the only differences would be that the Egyptian pharaohs were considered to be the human manifestation of the god Horus, who was responsible for the annual flooding of the Nile, which made Egyptian civilization possible. Did justification to the mandate ever end? Who was the last to use it? In 1046 BCE, the Shang dynasty was overthrown at the Battle of Muye, and the Zhao dynasty was established. The Zhao created the mandate of heaven, the idea that there could only be one legitimate ruler of China at a time, and that this ruler had the blessing of the gods. They used this mandate to justify their overthrow of the Shang and their subsequent rule. Some scholars think that earlier Xia dynasty never existed, and that it was invented by the Zhao to support their claim under the mandate that there had always been only one ruler of China. The last to use this document were the Zhaos before they were defeated. Once they were defeated, the mandate of heaven was changed and fixed and changed throughout time.
I'm Ryan Palmer. I'm Colin Kumpf.
And I'm Matt Mazzaro.
This is our Mandate of Heaven video.